Ladies and gentlemen, for the conferring of the honorary degree, I will now be joined by the chair of our Board of Trustees, Greg Padgett, Trustees Demetria Clemens and Jeff Schultz. Will you please escort Mr. Couick to the lectern? I'm proud to introduce Michael N. Couick, a true and generous leader with vision and insight. Mike Couick has served in South Carolina state government and now the public sector as the president and chief executive officer at the electric cooperatives. He has received numerous awards throughout his career, but one of the great distinctions is the Paul Revere Award from the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association for grassroots mobilization on issues of state and national importance to electric cooperatives and their members. As part of his civic contributions to South Carolina and our country, he has helped lead grassroots area efforts in other places. In education, for instance, he has been a supporter and a promoter of Teach for America, doing his absolute best to help young people achieve their potential. He has also been an initiating force in creating a College of Charleston recovery program for our students who are in recovery from alcohol or other drug problems. We know humanity advances because of great leaders who do for others before themselves. Mike Couick is such a person. Michael N. Couick has played a notable role in South Carolina government and the state energy industry for several decades. For 21 years, he served as general counsel for the South Carolina Senate Judiciary Committee. Today, he is the president and chief executive officer of the Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina, which represents the consumer interest of 1.5 million South Carolinians, served by the state's 20 consumer-owned electric cooperatives. I hereby present Michael N. Couick, whose exceptional work and leadership in South Carolina make him a fitting candidate for the college's Doctor of Humane Letters.
Michael N. Couick, your longtime service and commitment to South Carolina and its citizens are honorable and truly impressive accomplishments. The College of Charleston is proud to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters.
By the authority of the state of South Carolina, granted to the Board of Trustees of the College of Charleston, and committed to me, I declare that Michael N. Couick is now admitted to the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters of the College of Charleston with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining. Congratulations, Dr. Couick. You will receive Before I turn the lectern over to our commencement speaker, Dr. Couick, I would like to recognize his family that is with us today. We have Mike's children, Alex and Coleman, and Mike's father and mother, Nay and Mary. Would you all please stand so you can be recognized? With that, the stage is yours, Dr. Couick.
I wish each of you had the opportunity to come sit in my seat and just see how darn good you look. You really do. Thank you, President McConnell, Chairman Padgett, trustees, graduates, and other friends. When President McConnell, I call him Senator, asked me to speak to you, I ask a favor. Please let me talk to my people. I want to talk to those brave souls who put their chips down on a degree like history, philosophy, or anthropology. those brave enough to follow their own dreams rather than just lease out their lifetime. You are my people, and I stand before you with my degree in English literature, with a fondness for the wit of Jonathan Swift, and a passion for the poetry of Robert Browning to say three things. You can both make ends meet and make a difference. Number two, knowledge is never wasted. And number three, you each have a purpose. This cistern yard is beautiful. I was warned how beautiful it would be. I was told it was one of the top 10 graduation venues in the country. I disagree. It's number one. And why not? It is in America's most beautiful and historic city. If I could just be 21, again, just for today, I'd have a hard time choosing between listening to Runaway Gin or BYOG at the Poorhouse, or kiteboarding on a northeasterly breeze at Breach Inlet, or probably both, and I'd throw a burger from Poe's in between. I'd like for you to take 2 trips with me this afternoon. Let's leave the here and now for just a few minutes. For our first trip, if you'll look up at these majestic live oaks, they're incredible. Please think with me all that they've witnessed, from acorn to how they are now kind of gnarly, like some of us, but everything they've seen. Now, if you will, close your eyes. And really, I mean, ask you to please close your eyes. Focus on your breathing for just a minute. Relax. Breathe again. Just go to that soft spot. Now I'd like for you to capture a mental snapshot of your answer to this question. Where are you from? Again, the question, where are you from? What do you see? What do you feel? Maybe good, maybe not so good. Now open your eyes. Let me tell you what I saw when I did it. I was 9 years old. I was laying on my back, and I was in the middle of a pasture near my home in Clover, South Carolina. There was green grass. There were whitehead cows around. Most folks call them Hereford. They were grazing around me. I could hear the call of a bobwhite. I could smell wild onions and grass that had been clipped by a mower. And I watched the reds, the pinks, and the oranges of a celestial crayon box melt to form a sunset. All was good. All was well. I belonged. Everything belonged. I am in a cocoon of peace, in a not-so-perfect world. It's where I'm from. Where are you from? To me, it is the essential question to be answered in life. I believe it defines your success and your happiness, and I also believe it defines everything that you can be. In fact, contrary to what Yogi Berra said, I believe the best statement is, if you don't know where you're from, you will end up being somebody else. Again, if you don't know where you're from, you will end up being somebody else. For me, when I know where I'm from, I also know through my heart, not my head, that number one, it's not a place. It's my core. It is my original blessing from the architect of the universe. I know that I'm unique, perfectly unique. My hardwiring is indefectible. I also know I believe the same 2 things about each and every one of you. If I don't, or if I forget, I'll become like that person lamented by Thomas Merton, who spent their whole life climbing the ladder of success, only to reach the top and find that their ladder was leaning against the wrong building. Again, if you don't know where you're from, you will end up being somebody else. It really is a promise of full employment and full enjoyment. In this world which is in so much tumult, needs us as the unique puzzle pieces that we were designed to be. Only then do we really fit together. Our divine DNA, our primeval architecture feels alignment with the best in music, art, literature, but most of all, it feels alignment with others that are plugged in with where they are from. It's that sweet spot, Senator McConnell, where collaboration begins and consensus works. It is where a group of South Carolina farmers started from 75 years ago when they brought electricity to that 98% of our rural South Carolina population that did not have it. It was in places like Johns Island, Allendale, and Kiowa. Yes, they flipped a coin in the 1950s, and the loser had to take them all. Nobody of political or economic importance lived in any of those places then. And by the way, we lost the flip on Hilton Head Island as well. Those people that brought electricity called themselves electric cooperatives. That primeval architecture of my subconscious has allowed that boy from Clover that laid in that field at 9 years of age to work with environmentalists in this state, many of them in this community, to scuttle plans for what would have been our state's last coal-fired plant for generating electricity. It's also allowed me to share with the White House, there with them, how to bridge the divide between the cost of fighting climate change and the absolute necessity of fighting climate change. Discovering your roots, getting back to where you're from is not easy. Graduates, it's day-to-day work. If you are like me, you can get lost. We can believe that reality is what we see on TV. That fear, and that fear specifically of, if you get yours, I won't get mine, is our natural state of being. We can vote in America as if fears are an appropriate jumping off point for not only ourselves, but also for our political leaders. That fear leads us, at least temporarily, into a state of mind of what is wrong rather than what is possible. And there's so much possible for South Carolina, so much. Consider just those 11 counties that are persistent poverty. Think of those along I-95 plus a couple more where 20% of the population has lived below the federal poverty level for 45 years or more. Their infant mortality rates hover at the bottom. They're more like Libya than Lexington, South Carolina. Literacy rates are more like Morocco's than Mount Pleasant's. And like China, the population in those counties trends older as younger folks leave home to find opportunity. It becomes a death spiral for our rural areas. Again, unless we are tightly bound into our purpose, our puzzle piece, our architecture, our hardwiring, our divine DNA, we are tempted to see through the lens of the tyranny of the either or. Yes, that great would-be dictator, either or. Believing that for every winner, there must be a loser. And I ask you to take 2 trips. And for the second trip, I may have to actually read more than I've been doing. It gets kind of personal. Hang with me if you will. Before we go on that trip, let's first start off at your local coffee shop, your favorite. You might prefer a Starbucks. I really go for local places like Daily Grind, Drip, or Black Tap. I love to listen to people order. It sounds like they're selecting options for a new car. And they are so serious when they do it. Macchiato, venti, skim, extra shot of caramel, extra hot, extra whip, sugar-free. And then they breathe. My favorite order to hear is the God shot. The God shot. That supposedly unreachable utopia for a barista. The perfect divine espresso shot. A double ristretto. It is 1 ounce of beverage, liquid, packed with 3 ounces of caffeine. It is an exam crammer special. However, there are real God shots, and they're not based upon espresso. A real God shot reminds us where we are from. It always comes within the context of history and place. If we're listening, a God shot reminds us of that next step home. And they always reverberate. Again, context, words, reverberation. The first God shot I would offer to you. Addiction is pandemic. In the 18 to 24 age group, about 7,000 South Carolina youth enter rehabilitation each year. It can become a part of their journey home if they can rely on their peers for support. They can forge a new way of living. When successful, it is a life reborn. But unfortunately, when it fails, we see it in our daily papers' obituaries. Another life cut short by overdose or suicide. Recovery is tough, believed to be impossible when done alone. Peer support is crucial. Think of a teenager leaving home for the first time to college. He is also leaving his local support group. What does he face? Until this year, South Carolina, our state I love, had no recovery community on a college campus. Zilch. Your school is the first. Your college this year, meeting just a couple hundred feet to my left, embraced a College of Charleston recovery community. It was a quiet God shot, perhaps heard only by those affected, but the message was clear, the God shot was clear. It was, I believe in you. The reverberation, again, words, reverberation, context, the reverberation, peers will pass it on. I predict that parents, friends of the best and brightest among our youth who have battled and are winning the war against addiction will view the College of Charleston as a viable next step on their way home. God shot 2, 4,000 feet to my left, less than a mile, 4,000 feet to our northeast, and beginning nearly 350 years ago. The feet of free Africans first touched solid ground on a continent that had embraced slavery as being lawful, and that they were the personal property to be auctioned to the highest bidder. 40% of all slaves imported in the United States came through Gadsden's Wharf. Come halfway back to where we sit now. Come back 1,900 feet from that 4,000 to just 325 days ago. Gunshots rang out. 9 mothers, daughters, sisters, brothers, fathers, sons lay dead. Just 2 days later, several mothers, daughters, sisters, and granddaughters poured out a series of God shots. In every one of those God shots, they claim, hate will not win. What they said was, I forgive you. The reverberation, our President of the United States came to your campus and he spoke and sang of amazing grace. A flag was furled, a nation and a world heard. And our good Creator willing, at least one of you here today will do even more to carry the standard of grace and forgiveness forward. If you believe in the power of prayer, say one now for me. This is my final God shot. 1999, and this one's close to home for me, and tender still to talk about. A little boy of 4 with a rare form of cancer For 2 years, it never slows him down. He takes his contagious smile and dance moves to the hallways of St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis. 2 years of the very best in medicine fail. His kidneys shut down, and he lapses into a coma. But comas don't stop a God shot. My wife and I debate whether we've done enough. Is there another experimental treatment to try? Anything. Out of that coma, a 4-year-old comes, eyes open, voice clear. He was ready to go home. He was ready to go back to where he was from. Were those his last words? No. The next morning, after he had lapsed back into a coma, right after those first words, the day before he died, he did the medically impossible one more time. He raised his head. He told us and his sister, "I love you." Context, words, reverberation. I'm here today in the stead of a son that would be 21 and might be graduating with you. And I come to share his "I love you." God shots, we believe in you. I forgive you. I love you. If we don't know where we're from, we end up being somebody else. God shots remind us where we're from. Thank you very much.